What's going on, everyone? My name is Candi Ali, and we're here at 7 Series with our guest star, London Beck. Hey, London.
Hey, girl. Hey.
How are you?
I am wonderful. How are you?
I'm doing great. It's great to have you here.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, so we had you do a performance, and it sounds so beautiful. I'm jealous. Like, can I have some of your voice, please? Like Little Mermaid type deal? Okay. Let's jump to it. So tell me about yourself. How was it for you growing up? Like, where are you from? All that.
Absolutely. So I am from Ann Arbor, Michigan, here, basically. And I was raised by my grandparents. When I was 5 years old, I lived with my mom. My parents were divorced. And I went to get up, and I wrote, I'll never forget that day, of course. I went to get up because I had sensed that my mom didn't wake me up to go to school. I think I was in kindergarten at the time. And I was looking around our apartment and found her in the bathroom on the floor. And I don't know what took over me. I do think it's a blessing that they had put me in preschool. You know, not everybody goes to preschool, but like when you're there, they teach you like all of the basics, like what to do during an emergency. So I was like, okay, well, something's wrong. And I called 911 and stayed on the phone with the operator until the ambulance arrived. And they took her to the hospital, and unfortunately, she never came out. So I went to go live with my father and his parents. Unfortunately, he is crazy, but thankfully, he wasn't really around all that often. So they immediately absorbed me into their world and loved on me and raised me. Both sides of my family, long lines of like ministers and ministers' wives. So I grew up in a Baptist household. And that got interesting once I entered my teenage phase and started to become an adult. And I would say that they were strict, but they were also very loving and understanding. Like something that's a little different, especially for like religious Black households, like you are the child and they are the parent, and it is what it is. But when I came, more so my grandmother, because my grandfather was old school, Southern, Kentucky, Tennessee values. He was like, you're not going to talk back to me now. And she was very much the same way, but like when I had those moments as a child when I wasn't necessarily doing what I was supposed to do, like my grandmother and I, we would talk about it. And one thing that I really appreciated both of them doing is really allowing me to express myself the way that I needed to express myself and really just give me guidelines. I have two sisters who are older than me. The older sister is almost 12 years older than me. And the oldest sister is almost 17 years older than me. So I grew up talking. I wasn't speaking, I guess, the way that they assumed that a child would speak. And so they thankfully allowed me just to continue that. And again, just really give me like parameters of like, this is what we do. This is what we don't do. Maybe you want to keep that thought in your head.
You feel like you were a little ahead of your time growing
Yes.
up? Okay.
Oh, yes. I was very ahead of my time. I was 5 years old, and I think my when I came after my mother had passed away, I was very quiet, and I was very quiet, of course, because new environment and everything that comes along with that. And then, of course, my normal is no longer my normal. Right. So I'm adjusting. And I started to sing. And through singing, like singing has always helped open me up. And not too long after that, I think my grandmother was like bathing me. And I was like, no, I want to do this myself, which is very true to character today. I'm like, why do I need help when I can just do it? So yes, I was definitely ahead of my time as the little tyke that I was.
Okay. So hearing about the tragic story of your mother. I'm so sorry to hear about that. And then also, moving in with your grandparents and living in a religious household. How has that inspired you to the person that you are today, and how is it reflected through your music?
Absolutely. Um, it's really allowed me to, in this like weird roundabout way, to really find myself, and find that sense of security that we all need to feel fulfilled in life. With my grandparents being religious, there were some things that they were on the stricter side. But of course, I'm going to school. I'm getting exposed to the world. I'm taking in whatever I want to take in. I'm rejecting whatever doesn't feel natural to me. And so it's really, I will say that, again, some things they learned as we all started living together and they got back into the mode of raising a child, because again, we're talking about not just a religious household, but these are also my grandparents who are in their 70s and 80s, and they're done. They're coasting.
Also,
they're waiting to go on to glory. They're not looking. They were not anticipating raising another child basically from start to finish. And so over time, as I continued to grow up and have more complex dialogue with them and really be open about what I really wanted out of life and me on this journey of discovering humanity. Some things they were compromising on and other things they were not. My grandfather passed away of cancer in 2010. And that was summer between 7th and 8th grade. And so after that, it was just my grandmother and I. And of course, that summer, like we were already close, but like we were like really close. After that, I was slated to go to music camp actually that summer. And we both had a really hard time kind of like separating for those 11 days. But as I began to grow up, I discovered more about myself. I am a queer, non-binary individual, so you can imagine how lovely that conversation was in my household. And it didn't necessarily go over too well the first time, but because of the fact, again, they allowed me to, at the very least, have that open dialogue. I had this very unique relationship with them. A lot of kids cannot go to their parents and like have like very honest conversations
like,
until
hey,
they're
this is me.
Exactly. Until they're like much older. But I think that also with the combination of like, I'm going to do what's true to me and I'm not going to do what isn't. That really helped things blow over, I would say, actually really quickly, because you often hear stories of people coming out and then their family either ignores it or they get disowned or they're isolated from the rest of their family, and it can be like a really traumatic experience. But honestly, like it didn't even last that long. And she got to the point where she was like, who am I to ever stand in the way of your happiness? You know that I love you and that I want the best for you. So as long as you're happy, I will be along for the ride regardless.
That's wonderful, especially knowing that your grandmother is very religious. And a lot of times with religious folks, unfortunately, it's not very good to talk to them about that. Yeah. So I'm glad that you had a shoulder to lean on when it came to, coming out about or just being true to yourself, if that makes sense. So wonderful, wonderful. But I want to get into your music now.
Yes.
I love the background story, but I want to get into your music. So describe your sound.
Woof. I don't know. I am inspired by so many things. I am a classically trained violist. I started playing when I was 10 years old. Went to New York University, NYU, for music performance for a bit before I had to come and transition into caretaker duties for the last few years of my grandmother's life. But that plays a huge part in how I view music, because I view music more so kind of like in that classical sense. Over the past couple of years, I have pushed myself back into that composition space. So like that's my foundation and my base. But also I just love all kinds of music. If you were to go, I have Apple Music. If you were to look on my phone or on my laptop, you would look at playlists that I have, or you would look at my entire library and you would be like, none of this goes together. I have everybody. I have, of course, her and Alicia Keys and Beyonce and Ariana Grande, and I got some Big Sean in there and Kendrick, and then we transition, and then I have Eartha Kitt in there, and I have Yao Gilberto, and Astrid Gilberto, the girl from Ipanema. I've got Ella Fitzgerald.
Okay.
I just have everyone. Emmylou Harris, folk music, Dolly Parton. I could go on and on and on.
So there's no limits there, none.
No, there are no limits at all. And I think that's what I think that's really the best way I can describe my music is no limits at all.
Okay.
I pull not only from different genres, but from different cultures. So you might get like an Afro-Latin like esque beat, and then you'll get some maybe like I guess like standard R&B chords, and then you might get a little like bossa nova flair. So lots of different things that come together. I just like making music. I like being in it. I like playing it. I like feeling it.
Okay. So who is your target audience? Who do you make music for?
I make music, I feel, for everyone.
Okay. I like that.
I feel like music, if you really know how to tap in to your gift, there are some artists that choose to focus on specific audiences. But I think most importantly, I want my art to be timeless. I want it to reach everyone. I want, if you look like me, if there's a part of my identity that resonates with you, I want you to be able to relate to the stories that I'm telling. Even if you look the completely opposite, if you are the anathema of everything that I represent, I still want you to be able to listen to my music and still get something out of it.
Okay. So if I'm not mistaken, correct me if I'm wrong, you do have 3 albums, right?
Yes. Oh, you gonna make me count.
You got 3. I'm a journalist. I gotta do my research. So you got Angel, you got Black Satin Sessions, and Blinded by Hunger. No, I see some EPs too.
Or no, I have 3. Oh, I'm thinking ahead of time. Yes, 3.
Okay, wait.
I can't spoil anything.
Okay, so tell me about those 3 albums. Like, which one was the most challenging, or which one opened you up to become like who you are today?
Oh, that's so hard. I would say, in terms of most challenging, I would say Angel.
Okay.
First of all, I decided to make a concept album that really honored those religious roots within my background. So it initially started as a concept piece or project based off of the 7 deadly sins, but then there are 13 tracks, I want to say 12 or 13. And so there's the 7 deadly sins, and there's other things in there as well, and they all kind of tie in related to how I experience the world. And that was really challenging because I wanted to write. So I do everything. I want to put that out there. I am writing the music, I'm producing the music, I am mixing the music, and then mastering the music. So, and then
like
of course,
super producer, right?
Oh yes.
Okay.
I do it all. And so I wanted to make sure, in terms of like the writing, that it was true to my experience. And I also wanted to make sure that I'm very meticulous when I write. So if I write about something, I want to make sure that I can give it the greatest honor possible. I also want to push myself no matter what I'm doing. So when I'm working on an album in general, I'll listen to my previous works. And then I'll figure out, how can I push the envelope sonically? How can I push it lyrically? How can I push it, just overall, so that when people listen, they get a nuanced version of me every time. So that project had a lot of thought into it. And then I also wanted to weave some of my songs. If you are someone that knows me really well, you know that I give a lot of reverence to the people who raised me and loved me and nurtured me. So my grandparents, I was really intentional about wanting them in my music. My grandmother was alive at the time. My grandfather was not, but I like to weave them into my music so that they can be with me wherever I go, and I'll never have to lose them. So that was most challenging. And then I will say the Black Satin Sessions definitely is the one that is, they're all my babies, but like that one was really my baby because I feel like I put all of the preconceived notions that I had put on myself in terms of my artistry, and all of the preconceived notions that I felt like my listeners have had for me, those who have known me making music for a little bit at that point, those who had never met me before. I overall wanted to rewrite my sonic signature. And I also wanted to showcase other things that I say, but people don't really see a lot. Like, I play a host of different instruments. Black Satin Session, and I played guitar, for example, on previous songs, but like the Black Satin Sessions, if you listen to Black Satin, the bass guitar and the rhythm guitar that holds a song together, I am playing that. And then a friend of mine, Lotus Hotel, was very gracious enough to record the little solos and everything. I am a perfectionist, so it's going to take me like 15,000 minutes in order for me to like get something that I am happy with. So I was like, let me also just collaborate and allow someone to fill that gap. And then there's Thunder and Lightning, and I spotlighted the composer side of me. So I arranged that entire song, and also allowed people who were very, again, instrumental in my life and me getting this far into the project. So that specific song, my middle school orchestra director is playing cello. My high school orchestra director is playing viola. I could have done that, but I was like, I want somebody else to do that, especially someone that like means something to me. Some very dear friends that I met through being a counselor for Ann Arbor Public Schools music camp during the summer. They play violin, and then a good friend of mine that I used to work with, he came in and rounded everything out with the double bass. Yes.
Okay, so we're coming towards the end of the interview, and I just want to ask you two more questions in one. Okay, so where do you see yourself in the next few years when it comes to music? And also, would you want to remain an independent artist, or would you want to get signed to a label?
Ooh, let me answer that last question first. I plan to remain as independent for as long as I can, because I feel like I bring so much to the table. I recently launched Renovere Recording, which is my digital music production company, TM. And I really wanted to figure out how to use my talents to give back to the community. There's so much that you can do as an independent artist. And yes, a lot of the record labels gatekeep. And they make it so that the people who are not signed have a more difficult time, but like it's possible. And it's also really important to create platforms for artists to actually make something off of their art. Why am I going to give somebody a cut when I'm doing all of this work? And knowing me, like going back to my perfectionist statement, I will even go as far as to admit that I'm a control freak. There is no way I'm going to be in somebody's recording booth and let somebody else come in and tell me how I'm going to make my song, because you're going to see me walk out of that room and I'm going to be like, you get out of this chair. I got it from here. It's going to take a little longer. So I definitely would stay independent all of the way. Okay. And part of my company's mission is to help educate artists in terms of like dealing with the music business side. I want to educate people and make sure that they walk away from me better equipped. So there's that. And then outside of Run of Your Recording, I had a little downtime. I had some medical things that I had to work out. I lost my voice for a little bit, but we're pretty much back now. Yes. I do have an album that is coming out this year. By the end of 2024, everybody will get Vengeance Be Mine. Not being able to sing, and then my grandmother passing away late 2022, I've gone through so many life experiences, and it was funny because I was so worried about when I was not able to sing, like, I live and breathe music. Mm-hmm. How am I going to live? And you would be surprised with all of the like inspiration and creativity that just comes out of the woodwork when you can't express it the way that you're used to expressing it. So like this upcoming project has 16 tracks on it. Ooh. I wrote a lot more and produced a lot more. Yes. Oh, okay. I will say that those of you who know Danny Darling and I have something that really I am sitting on. Danny did her part and she did an incredible job as always. But I'm just going to leave it at that. And when all of this comes out, I'm just going to say, get ready to dance, get ready to shake, get ready to let go of your inhibitions, and just get ready to be free.
Okay, guys, you hear it. Be on the lookout for that album late 2024, guys. Unfortunately, we have come to an end with the interview, but London, it has been my pleasure to talk to you and to hear about your life story and also about your background with music. It's been lovely, and I hope that you keep forward and pushing on because people need your voice, okay?
Absolutely.
And I'm glad you got your voice back. Okay, guys, that was our time. I am Candi Ali, and we're here at 7 Series. Until next time, folks. Mwah.